once in a while, I just want to pick some records out and talk about them. These aren't necessarily records I've listened to recently. I mean, this is kind of just a random thing. And I thought, you know what? Let's just grab some records and talk about it. So this is another one of my Rando Records. I basically just picked 4 this time. I picked a couple and I'm like, I don't want to talk about that and put them back. So I guess it's not completely random, but I wasn't studying up on what to take. I just randomly picked from different sections of my I guess collection, even though I hate using that word, collection. But yeah, I guess one who has a few hundred or more, vinyl records is definitely a collector. Do you use that word, collector? Do you call yourself a collector? I wrestle with that one for many, many reasons, and maybe I'll do another one of my rant videos and talk about it. But anyway, today I'm talking about 4 different records that I picked at random to talk about, and they're not necessarily at random for you to see, right? Because you can see the first one right behind me. This is Bob Dylan's Together Through Life. I remember being really excited about this record. I loved, when Bob Dylan put out Time Out of Mind and started making new records again that were vital for people my age, for people that were, in their 20s in the 90s. It was unbelievable, and the trend just continued of putting out top-notch stuff, with Love and Theft, and then Modern Times, and then, expecting another great one with Together Through Life. I liked the graphics and the illustration, or the photography on this right away. I think it's one of Bob Dylan's better covers. I kind of wish it was a little less of Bob Dylan Together Through Life and a little bit more of the photo, but it's really nice. And Beyond Here Lies Nothing was the first single. That sounded pretty good to me. Then I heard about it from some movie I still have not seen. I'm not going to remember just on the spot like this, but I think what we ended up getting was a good Bob Dylan record, but not one where he knocked it out of the park like so many of his records post Time Out of Mind. Let's see, what do we have on here? All right, I'm going to reveal the next record I talk about. Okay. We have Life is Hard, My Wife's Hometown, If I Ever Get to Houston, Forgetful Heart, Jolene, The Stream of You, Shake Shake Mama, Feel a Change Coming On. That was inspired, I think, by Obama getting elected, and It's All Good. Remember, like in Jolene, Forgetful Heart, I heard a different version once that wasn't the version on here that I really liked. I did see him live around this time of Together Through Life. He was on an Americana tour. It was with Wilco and My Morning Jacket. Who else did I see? I saw Nick Lowe, which is great. I thought he had a really good album around that time too. But I remember this being one of the better Dylan shows I've seen. He was really on that night, and it's a decent Dylan record. And I played it not too long ago, and I liked just having it on because it's one that me and I think a lot of people just tend to sort of dismiss, especially when it's in the same kind of ballpark or era-wise as Love and Theft, Modern Times, and one I absolutely love, which was Rough and Rowdy Ways, which came out, I guess, 3 or 4 years ago now. 4 years ago. Anyway, Bob Dylan, Together Through Life. And what do I have behind me? I have John Prine's last record. This one I love. In a lot of ways, this is the album that got me into John Prine. Now, I had heard of John Prine forever. I had heard songs here and there. And certain people would tell me, like, you got to get into John Prine. But I sort of had him in this category of folk music. I wasn't really into folk music. I like singer-songwriter stuff, but I didn't like a lot of the baggage that came with folk music. I didn't like things that were super folky. In some ways, I still don't. But I found this record to be so accessible, and around the same time, or maybe right before it, I can't remember which one came first. I think it might have been just buying this new record. Cool. John Prine has a new record out. Let's check it out. I've been wanting to get into this guy. That I went back and I listened to the collection that he did. I'm forgetting what it's called. It's like his first greatest hits record. And I love that too. And some of those songs just spoke to me for the first time in my life, really. Like Hello in there. I just found absolutely heartbreakingly gorgeous, and so many other songs too, especially the stuff off that first record. And I've become a pretty big John Prine fan. He gets quite a bit of play around here. But this album was the one that really made me want to explore it more. And I think, unfortunately, it was his last record, and I think it's a hell of a way to wrap up a career. Some highlights off this for me: Knocking on Your Screen Door, Egging Daughter Night, Lincoln, Nebraska, 1967. When I Get to Heaven, which is, he's going to smoke a cigarette 9 miles long. He's going to make out with carnival girls, I think he says, or on the tilt-a-whirl. And it's just, I think he's in, his voice is so different from the early stuff, but it's still, I think, a good voice. It works for him, much like older voices work for Dylan and Johnny Cash. But The Tree of Forgiveness, if you're a John Prine fan and for some reason you haven't heard this one, check it out. It's excellent. And even if you aren't, maybe you'll be like me and you'll get into this guy through that and then have a huge catalog to work your way back through. Okay, something completely different behind me than John Prine, Guided by Voices, Class Clown, Spazi UFO. So the classic lineup of Guided by Voices, which is the one that made B1000, Alien Lanes, Under the Bushes, Under the Stars, like that era that people always sort of gravitate to for Guided by Voices. They reunited after, Guided by Voices had changed the band lineup a couple different times. Doug Gillard was in the band, and they had a completely different lineup than the original classic Guided by Voices. But after going on hiatus with that, he ends up reforming the original Guided by Voices and calls them Classic GBV and goes on tour initially, and then does like 6 records. I don't think they toured the records. I don't think that much, if at all. It was just like one record after another. And most of them, to be honest, were kind of disappointing. Out of the 6, I think I like 3, about half. But my favorite one is this one, Class Clown, Spazi UFO. I think it's like really underrated in their catalog, and it kind of has the best of what Guided by Voices is, with all new songs. Some of these really popped for me. Class Clown, Spazi UFO is a song that had been around forever. Keep It in Motion, Billy Wire, Be Impeccable. And then they just had a way in this era of ending, and a lot of their classic stuff too, just ending with a killer song. And I thought No Transmission off here was just a great song. But it's kind of like Alien Lanes, and then you just drop the needle and just kind of, there's several songs in here. I'm looking at them. I don't know how many is that, like 17, 18? But they all go together, and it's still a short record. And I think it's the best one that he did with a classic GBV lineup. I think this came out in... I hate it. Oh, 2012. So, wow. This album is 12 years old. Crazy. All right, the last one. It's been ruined. You've seen it. Is Tom Waits, Nighthawks, or no. Tom Waits, The Heart of Saturday Night. I knew that. I don't like Nighthawks at the Diner, to be honest. I can't stand it. It's Tom Waits at his most obnoxious, I think, and it's totally unlike this record, even though it followed this record. It was a follow-up to this record. This record, I think, is when Tom Waits gets his early style just down pat, and it works. And it's this great record. Lyrically, songs are there. The feeling is there. It's a great Saturday night record. It's also a hell of a Sunday morning record. It's a great driving record. And there's just so many good classic songs on here that if you're to pick, if you get into Tom Waits with Bone Machine or Mule Variations, this is, and you're missing some of the early stuff, or you just want to get more into that, this, I think, is a place to start. Some of the songs off this one, New Coat of Paint, just the way it opens up, I mean, just great right away. You just feel like you're in like this late night, bar with watching this piano player. Shiver Me Timbers, Diamonds on My Windshield, Heart of Saturday Night, Drunk on the Moon, and then The Ghost of Saturday Night, the way he wraps it all up. I think it's, like I said, I think it's probably his best record until you get into the Swordfish Trombones era, and then it's like a total reset, which I tend to prefer. I do prefer, but I do absolutely love this one, The Heart of Saturday Night. So that's what I've got. Four random records. I just want to talk about them. Maybe I've inspired you to take them off the shelf if you have them, or stream them, or go seek them out. If you do have these records, I'm curious what you think of them, so leave a comment. But thanks, everyone.